The Commons debate following the Queen's speech was mainly focused on the cost of living crisis. And in that debate, Tory MP Lee Anderson said this.
But my invitation is to everybody on that side of the house. Come to Ashfield and work with me for a day in my food bank and see that the brilliant scheme we've got in place, where when people come now for a food parcel, they have to register for a budgeting course and a cooking course. And what we do at the food bank, we show them how to cook cheap and nutritious meals on a budget. We can make a meal for about 30 pence a day, and this is cooking from scratch. We're glad to give way.
The honourable member for giving way. Can you answer me a simple question? Should it be necessary to have food banks in 21st century Britain?
Yes. I thank the honourable gentleman for his intervention. He makes a great point, and this is exactly my point. So I invite you personally to come to Ashfield, look at our food bank, how it works, and I think you'll see firsthand that there's not this massive use for food banks in this country. We've got generation after generation who cannot cook properly, they can't cook a meal from scratch, they cannot budget. The challenge is there. Come, I'll offer anybody. You sat there with glazed expressions on your faces, looking at me like I've landed from a different planet. Come to Ashfield, come next week, come the week after, come to a real food bank that's making a real difference to people's lives.
To be fair to Lee Anderson, he does seem to have more on-the-ground knowledge of food banks than your average Tory, but that doesn't mean his argument makes any sense whatsoever. The Trussell Trust are the main food bank charity. In 2010, they gave out 40,000 parcels. By 2020, that figure had risen to 2.6 million. So you have to ask the question, did 2 million people suddenly forget how to cook? Or did successive Tory governments condemn millions of people to food poverty who previously could put food on the table?
It's not just about cooking one meal for 30 pence. It's about budgeting and running a household. I don't think any of them run their own households. But it also just goes to show the way in which this neoliberal ideology, it's not only about blaming the individual for systemic inequality, for the systemic deprivation that our system engenders, but it's also the ways in which they can't wait to have an opportunity to discipline the poor. Like they would almost want to keep the poor in food banks so that they can use it as a way of disciplining them. Oh, you can have, a potato and a tin of baked beans and a bag of pasta, but you have to, take all these courses and make me feel good that I'm helping you improve yourself. It's sort of like this bizarre, civilizing mission. It dripped through Prince Charles's speech with the, getting people back into work as if, it's their fault that they don't have work that allows them to actually put a roof over their head and provide for their families and loved ones. It's just this incredibly patronizing and very unrealistic way of understanding the world, which is why even though he seems to be more on the ground than other Tory MPs, he's still so inflected by his ideology of infantilizing working class people and failing to see the issue of poverty as a systemic issue, that even on the ground with the people in front of him that he's talking about, he can't see the reality of what's actually going on in front of him.